Anyone can have a gimme, but it really gets interesting when you go for two. The Go for Two podcast starting now.
Welcome back to the Go for Two podcast. Here on another Saturday, we are having a heat stroke here in Middletown, Delaware.
Oh man, it is hot.
All of us are burning up down here. Like I said, welcome back everybody. This is episode number 5. Towards the end of the show, we're going to get into my top 5 quarterbacks, and we're going to finish up those divisions in the NFL as well. This is Dante, everybody's favorite couch quarterback. Here, my man Don, the stats guru.
Hey, we're ready to go. No matter how hot it is outside, we are ready to go.
Ready to go. Ready to rock and roll.
Hey, if these guys are getting ready for training camp, we can get ready in the heat too.
That's right. Shirts off and everything. So, gonna start the show off kind of on a sadder note. On Friday, we had, dear Mitch Petrus. He passed away from a heat stroke. Working outside of his family business, and like we mentioned before, that this weather has been pretty bad lately. Everybody's on a heat advisor in many states and many counties. Now let Don give you a little bit of stats on his NFL career.
Yeah, Mitch was a 2010 draft pick, 5th round offensive guard from the New York Giants. He was a Super Bowl champion with the Giants. Played a couple more years on and off with the Patriots and Titans before retiring in 2013. Sad though, he was only 32 and he was working outside of his family business in Arkansas, but he had a pretty heck of a college career too.
Yeah, man. Right outside my wife's age. But yeah, about his college career, he actually played with Darren McFadden and Felix Jones, a former Cowboys running back. That season, man, they both rushed for 1,000 yards in 2007. He was redshirted in 2008. He was 2009 All SEC first team with the Razorbacks. So, sad news as of Friday. We wish his family condolences and hope they can all find comfort in this, in this time of grief. So. Never a good thing to hear, good NFL players and good college players, pass away from something like this.
And then we just talked about training camps opening up, so we hope everybody takes it easy as far as keeping cool, staying indoors as much as possible. Don't overdo it outside.
Yeah, keep yourselves hydrated out there. Kind of moving on from there. We posted some things on Facebook. Over the last week and a half that we want to go over some, really crappy news coming out in the NFL. It seems like this happens all the time and never want to hear these type of things happen and see the divas that are always up and coming. And it's as always ridiculous.
All right. Well, one of the latest things we did post was about the NFL not finding that the personal conduct policy was violated in any way by Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill. He's able to attend the Chiefs training camp and participate in all club activities. Didn't get too many comments, got a shock face by someone, but what's your thoughts on that real quick, Dante?
I don't have, too much information that I can go by. I'm just not going to be the one to point the gun at the man that hasn't been found guilty. So, I don't really have too much of an opinion. It just sucks hearing that, these players always get involved with something, man, in their personal life.
It is.
Especially with somebody like Tyreek Hill, who's one of the bright spots in the NFL. Wouldn't have thought, as happy as he is and everything, that, something like that would happen. So, wow. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm just not going to call a man guilty when nothing's been found on it. We might have an opinion later if something else gets figured out, but we just let the dust settle on that one.
All right, on another one, we have an unhappy running back in Dallas. Apparently Ezekiel Elliott is saying privately that he's going to hold out of training camp unless he gets a new contract.
Never been a big fan of Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, we got a couple comments on Facebook with that. We got a no, and none of them are worth the problems with all their off the field stuff, so they don't think he deserves that contract.
Yeah. from the body of work that has happened, and I think it has a lot to do with that offensive line, I think he's just one of those running backs that would not do well somewhere else. He's not a Barry Sanders that's just going to make up plays. So
no, I got you there.
Yeah, if he gets a raise, that offensive line should get a new contract as well. That's kind of how I feel about it. Like I said, these dudes are making millions of dollars to sit there and complain, and I make my salary every year and I make it work. If I had $1 million, it would be something totally different. But hey, to each their own. A lot of former players are saying, "Why are you guys hating on the NFL players that are just trying to do better for their well-being?" Okay, $14 million.
Yeah,
like I couldn't do something with that.
I'm telling
like I wouldn't be happy with that. Yeah, these guys are just divas at this point. But like I said, if you're gonna stick it to one player and that he deserves this enough money, make sure you take care of everybody else that's helping him get these stats and being I think he's been 2 years now that he's been the leading rusher.
Yeah.
Like I said, he can't do it on his own.
That's for sure. I mean, he's got a line, and I agree with you. If he didn't have that line, he would not be putting up the numbers he's doing.
Nope.
One of my favorite posts from the week, no comments on it, no thoughts, but as usual, we mentioned something on our podcast, and it happens. We got to talking last podcast about the Raiders being on Hard Knocks. We talked about some of the personalities, the very strong personalities on a lot of the players. We named a lot of the players. We talked about coach, and what happens? Richie Incognito suspended 2 games for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy.
I'm not surprised.
Not at all, man.
Not at all. It's like, why? And I bet you the Raiders are like, why can't we get the Richie Incognito that was on the Bills? Maybe it was the cold weather. Maybe he was just frozen in place from doing anything bad. We already predicted something was going to happen out of that group. Absolutely. And expect a bunch of fines from Vontaze Burfict as well. Maybe some 2-game suspensions for him.
And the last post that we had this week, actually we put it up as a poll when Melvin Gordon of the Chargers informed the Chargers that unless he gets a new contract, he will not report to training camp and he will demand a trade. We had 7 votes and 6 out of 7 said trading.
Before I even say anything about Melvin Gordon, who's still not used to calling them the LA Chargers or the LA Rams? I still call them the San Diego and the St. Louis Rams. I just had to throw that out there.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I look at it and I skip it. I just go to Chargers, man.
Yeah. I can honestly say about Melvin Gordon, I was wrong about him when he did play at Wisconsin. He was a great running back and he is doing great things with the Chargers. He fits their team really well. Another diva situation, man. It just sucks. Like, it's a team sport. It's not all about you. And I'm sure that this is taking away, everything that the Chargers want to build up to get to another playoffs just by having this one-off stupid conversation every year with these players being divas, man. It's ridiculous. So, same thing that we mentioned before, just you guys are making enough money. How about winning some games first? How about winning this team a championship? Get Phillip Rivers a championship, then maybe ask for a contract. But like I said, you can't do it without the team. You give him a raise, give everybody else a raise as well.
Yep, I hear you
Just
there.
Saying.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to the Chargers taking a next step this year. I really thought they were going to do that. I don't know if they need this at the beginning of the season to.
They don't. No team needs a distraction like this, man. Like, now, it would put a bad taste in my mouth as a player. But, of course, I don't make millions of dollars and neither am in the NFL, so what does it matter in my opinion? But, hey, I just see it from the outside, right. I guess.
Well, one thing we didn't post, but you know me as an Eagles fan, I got to mention that the Eagles did sign Darren Sproles to a 1-year contract. He apparently loves Philly, wants to retire there. He's very happy there. It's like family to him. So I think that's a good move for the Eagles.
It is a good move, and especially with the fact that he's been hurt, and he still wants to stay in the same city and stay with the same team. Says a lot about the Eagles and the city of Philly. I know that the fans are, not everybody's favorite, but the players really seem to like it there every time they go to Philly. So that's one thing that I can say. So shout out to the owners and GMs and the staff on the Eagles organization for, getting a loyal player to stick around when, you know, he's had his time at other places and done well. So
absolutely.
You know, good on Darren Sproles. Hopefully he stays healthy because he's still a talent. All right. Well, let's lead into these two divisions that we haven't talked about.
Sounds good. Oh, let's start with the NFC West. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
I want to save the AFC North because I know we got some Steeler fans
I think
listening,
this
one, and I want to save that for last.
And I absolutely think this division is going to ruffle some feathers with my picks. And I already did with my wife. Yeah, let's. AFC North. Okay, yeah, we'll save that one for last for sure. NFC West. We'll start with the Arizona Cardinals. I have them going 5-11.
Man, are you looking at my sheet? I got 5-11 too.
Yeah, yeah, 5-11. I have them. I don't think they're really gonna. No matter how much I like some of the players on that team, and I wish Larry Fitzgerald would just go somewhere else.
I know,
but he's a loyal guy, which I can respect. I don't think they're just gonna have the juice to make a dent in that division. I mean, you got some heavy hitters in the NFC West, man. I think this is going to be a tighter division with the top three teams that I have, but I have them dead last in their division.
I do too.
Yeah, Arizona Cardinals 5-11 for me and Don. And what's the quarterback? I always forget his name. The little guy from Oklahoma. Why am I drawing a blank?
Dude, don't even man.
The number 1 overall pick. I don't think he's going to do too well.
Yeah.
My apologies, people. But let's move on to.
It must be the Heat, man.
Kyler Murray, that's his name.
There you go.
Jesus. The next team that we have on the list is the LA Rams. Now, I think this is going to be a little interesting. I'm not looking on Don's sheet here, but I don't think. You know me, man. Jared Goff would probably hate listening to this show every week because I don't think he has it, man. I think it's the system that's really got him doing well. But
I agree with the system. Yes.
Todd Gurley, hope he stays healthy. And I think this is all dependent on how Todd Gurley's going to do, which and those other players. I have them 9-7.
Wow. I have a little more faith in them.
They look good on paper, but
they do look good on paper.
I think the other teams boosted up. That's the reason why I gave them that.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on their performance from last year. I guess it's because I had so many players on my fantasy team and I did so well.
Yeah.
With especially defensive players. I do like their defensive secondary. I do like their offensive system. I think they're going to have trouble, but I have them at an 11-5.
I can see that.
I mean, that's got to be a best case scenario, though.
Yeah, because I think these other two teams are really going to surprise people. So I have them second in the division, though, overall at 9-7. My number 1 in the division.
Okay.
I might be a fan of theirs, but as long as they're so deceiving because they don't have the star players that you think. But they win a bunch of games. Seattle Seahawks, 10-6.
I have them at 10-6 as well, and just one game off what I predicted the Rams. And I think that if one of those two teams sweeps the series with each other, that's going to be your division winner.
Yep. But this is the team that was very hard for me to determine what record they were going to have. And I have them third in a division, but I could see them winning a division outright if they put the pieces together. The San Francisco 49ers at 8-8.
You know, I really wanted to give them an 8-8. If I wouldn't have looked at who they were playing, I would have said 8-8. I actually have them coming in at 7-9, but they could most certainly do a 10-6.
I think they could be anywhere from a 6-10 team to a 12-14.
Yeah,
I think they could be anywhere in there, but as the time being, I just think they might get outperformed by the LA Rams. And I think this division, just circle this division on your calendar this year. I think this is going to be the toughest division to play in. It's going to be a frustrating division. I think we're going to have a lot of number 1s week by week. I think the Cardinals can be number 1 in 1 week just because the other teams are going to lose games against each other. But if you look at the schedules there, it's going to be difficult for all of them. So,
yep.
But George Kittle, man, and the rest of that team, I think they got the juice, and I think John Lynch is doing a really good job being a GM out there. And of course, I'm kind of biased because that's my favorite player of all time, but I think he's doing a good job.
No, he's putting the pieces there.
It's a slow progress, but it seems like he knew something was good with George Kittle, and he was the leading tight end. And I think they just need to put that team on George Kittle's back this year, and I think they'll be 8-8. I think they'll be 500. They'll have a winning season, and then next year it's going to be scary. Just depends on where they're going to end up. So, and then we'll lead into the juicy part of this whole division talk. We have the AFC North. This is going to ruffle some feathers because this is our region right here.
It is. Oh, this is going to be ugly.
So we'll start with the obvious, the Pittsburgh Steelers. My wife hated that I did this, but I don't know. I have nothing against the Steelers. Their fans almost I compare them to the Eagles fans somewhat. They're just kind of over their head every year. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though they have the talent, Juju's going to do his thing. He's probably going to be the leading wide receiver this year. Mm-hmm. I think the running back, James Conner's
going to have a good year, not a great year.
I think he's going to be top 5.
Yeah, I think he's going to score a lot of touchdowns in goal line situations. He does what he does.
Ben Roethlisberger is going to be one of the top 15 quarterbacks like he is every year. And that defense is going to do pretty good. But I just think that there's 2 teams that are just almost better than them. And I have them at 8-8 at a 500 season.
Ooh.
That's crazy, right?
No, it's not crazy. I got them at 9-7.
Okay.
We're already 1 game off, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not too much to say. We know we're going to get with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We're going to get some hate comments on this. You know that, right?
I'm ready for them. But the team that's right across the bay, Baltimore Ravens, I have them at 6-10.
I was generous, I guess, because I only live an hour from there and I'm in the same state. I gave them an 8-8, but I really was leaning towards a 7-9.
Yeah, I have them 6-10. I like Lamar Jackson and what he does, but I don't understand the moves that they made in the offseason and the people that they drafted. Not going to get into that too much. Go and do your research, but I don't think this is a 500 team right now. And I've never liked the decisions that I know people love Ozzie Newsome and things like that, but I've never thought that their staff did enough to really warrant them a championship. I think their players did. Mm-hmm. They overperformed versus what their staff could actually do.
Yeah, their players got it done when it needed to be done. And a lot's going to be determined with their record, I believe, when they play the Steelers like it is every year. That's going to determine. I mean, if the Steelers sweep the Ravens, I see them going 9-7. If they get swept, they could be 8-8.
I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to be a team that's going to look good at the beginning of the season. I think they're going to win like 4 games straight, right?
Okay.
But as soon as they play the Steelers, I think they're going to lose. And then they'll win that last game towards the end of the season, but I think they'll end 6-10.
Okay.
Next up, this is a team that I just didn't know, but I just have a lot of faith that they got a new coach and that they're going to be taught a brand new system and finally put the pieces together. And that team is the Cincinnati Bengals. I have them at a safe record of 8-8, but I think they could be a 10-6 team for sure. Joe Mixon, I think he's going to be a beast this year.
Well, I definitely think they have the pieces. They've had the pieces for years. They just can't put it together. I'm not convinced they can do it this year, but I think they'll get started on it. I was a little harder on them. I had them at 6-10, but I can see an easy 8-8 out of it.
Please get my man AJ Green some touches this year. I think, and I said this earlier when we started doing the first episodes of the podcast, AJ Green is the most underrated wide receiver and should be 1 or 2 every year just by his production alone. That dude is doing it by himself at wide receiver every year.
Yep.
So when they lose him, if he gets hurt, this team can be a 2-14 team.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, Mixon is not going to carry the team by himself if he has no wide receiver help. I mean, he's going to have a good year this year. I agree with you, but yeah, They really got to air the ball out, have a balanced attack. Dalton certainly has the arm. He just, he's frustrating.
Joe Mixon is gonna be good for Dalton because he's gonna open up the pass game a lot more, and that's when AJ Green's gonna be even a lot more dangerous because not everybody's gonna be focused on him. But like I said, this team could be 2-14, or they can be 11-5.
Yeah,
that's where I kind of have them. But we can't ignore the elephant in the room and the pieces that the Cleveland Browns have put together.
The last team to predict. Here we go.
Man, when is the last time we've seen the Cleveland Browns win a division? I think it's this year, and I think they're going to make it far in the playoffs. I don't think they're not quite going to get to the AFC Championship. I just think there's a couple more teams better than them. But I have them at 8-5 or 11-5.
11-5. Yeah, that could happen. I have them at 10-6. I have them winning the division also. What do you think, Catherine? You listening? We're picking your Browns.
Just the pieces that they have together, man. What did I say before we even started doing the podcast? I said if they draft that damn quarterback that they have now. He's going to have the confidence and not going to let the things get to his head, man.
Love the swagger. Just enough, not overkill. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. being good friends. Their defense is always getting better every year.
Defense is scary.
Man, what if they had Joe Thomas still? If he could have just played 2 more years. Even he did an interview the other day, and he's like, I lost all this weight. I'm looking good. I'm feeling good. But damn, do I wish I could go back and play with the Browns right now.
Wow.
He deserved to at least been on a couple winning teams, man. Joe Thomas, one of the greats, future Hall of Famer, first ballot for sure. But it's going to be good for him to be sitting on his couch with his family watching his Browns win a division this year for sure. So I know Don's got a couple things from the Bleacher Report, and we just kind of cleared up the divisions of the NFL. So curious to hear what your thoughts are on the predictions that we made. And towards the end of the season, we want to see, where we end up. Maybe midway through the season, we might come back and revisit and see where our records are matching up, the percentages.
Yeah, we get closer to the season. We know what's going on after the training camps and after the preseason. We'll expand these predictions out to playoffs and eventually Super Bowl. So stay tuned. We will get there. Just a matter of time.
Absolutely.
All right. Doing some reading this week. Bleacher Report put out an article with some predictions on different positions. For example, with quarterback, passing yards, passing touchdowns, who they think are going to be the top 2. So all you fantasy football players out there that are listening to us, that includes you too, Brett, if you're listening to us. I'm going to give you what Bleacher Report has, and then Dante and I might chime in a little bit on who we think might be a better pick.
Yep.
So for passing yards, Bleacher Report has Matt Ryan and Jared Goff.
2 NFC quarterbacks.
How you like that?
For passing yards, Matt Ryan. The 2 quarterbacks that I don't.
I know.
I've never.
Man, you compare these two,
Yeah, I compare them all the time.
In some ways, man.
I would pick Matt Ryan over Jared Goff any day of the week because he's already been proven that he could at least be consistent. I don't know. I can see Drew Brees and of course Matthew Stafford taking that like they do almost every year.
Well, I don't know how you overlook Patrick Mahomes, who threw for over 5,000 yards last year, man.
Absolutely.
How can you forget that?
And now he's got Tyreek Hill for sure.
Yeah, but I tell you, the one, I guess I would say my 2 dark horse picks for this. I think Mahomes might be your man, but I'm looking for Andrew Luck to have a heck of a year, and I think Phillip Rivers is going to sneak in there.
So this is going to surprise you on who I would pick for this.
Okay.
I got your man from the Eagles. If he stays healthy.
Yeah, I have him something else, but I don't have him for yards. But hey,
if Carson Wentz stays healthy, man, I think he could get it. But my for sure, and I put a star next to his name, And there was a conversation about saying that he wasn't an elite the other day and all this other stuff. I had mentioned him before while you were talking about it. It was Matthew Stafford.
Oh, Stafford. Yes. Man airs it out. He's got a gun. So
the dude throws 50 times a game.
Attempts, yeah. He's
But they
just got
said
to
that
have
he's
somebody
not
to
elite.
catch it, man.
They keep talking about his contract and all this stuff. I'm like, that has nothing to do with anything. Just because he's making more money than somebody else. The dude's elite, man. Put him in the category already. They talk about his touchdown interception ratio. I'm like, man, you better be glad that you would have a good, at least decent ratio of how many times you throw the ball a game. Jeez. But yeah, I have Matthew Stafford and Carson Wentz for that one for sure.
All right. Passing touchdowns. Bleacher Report has Andrew Luck and Patrick Mahomes.
Passing touchdowns?
Yep.
Andrew Luck and Patrick Mahomes?
Yep.
That's decent right there.
Yeah. Luck had 39 last year. I had him as one of my picks, and I'll give you my two that might trickle in for number two. I actually had Russell Wilson and Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wentz is going to really do well inside the red zone this year. He's got so many weapons out of the backfield at tight end and wide receiver. I think that's where he's going to shine. I think his touchdowns are going to go up. Not necessarily his yards. I think he's going to have a good year with yards, but yeah, I'm looking for him. And I mean, Russell Wilson threw 39 last year too. So
it's because he was the only one that scored like 83% of the touchdowns on his team last season. That was insane. Those are good picks. I'm just kind of thinking about who I would pick. First one for sure, I think is going to surprise some people too. I think Deshaun Watson is going to have a great year, and I think he'll be the passing touchdown leader for the AFC.
I like that pick.
Deshaun Watson for sure. If I had to go from somebody in NFC, I guess I would go Carson Wentz again. Okay. I think he'll be the passing yards and the touchdown leader if he stays healthy.
Okay.
As much as I give crap about Carson Wentz, I do think he's a good quarterback, just to put that out there for everybody. But if he stays healthy, man.
Yeah. Until he has a complete healthy year, it's always going to be if and but and all those other things.
So just keep in mind, like Don agrees with me with when it comes to this injury. Put an asterisk next to Carson Wentz's name. This is if he can stay healthy for a whole season.
That's it. All right, moving on to rushing yards. Bleacher Report says Ezekiel Elliott and Joe Mixon.
That's an interesting pick. I don't think Ezekiel Elliott will get it, but Joe Mixon, I like that.
I had both those as my two runner-ups. I was torn between those two, but I see Saquon Barkley with this one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I got Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley. Think about that. Mark Ingram is not there with the Saints right now.
Right.
Who is going to get the rock for the season?
Yes, he is.
Kamara and Saquon for sure for me too as well.
I like that. Now rushing touchdowns. Here's where it gets interesting, because Bleacher Report went with James Conner and Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry
had a heck of a season last year.
He did, but I don't think he's going to be the rushing leader. Jeez. No, this or the touchdown leader.
Hey, you give him the ball inside the 5, man, he is there. I think these are. It's not a go for 2 type situation, but he's in the end zone on those short yardage.
Yeah, that's very true, but I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to go put an asterisk next to this guy's name, Todd Gurley.
Okay.
And Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay.
I think I got those two.
I actually like their picks of Connor and Henry, because I do think those are both used in the same situations. But my other one that I threw in there, I don't know who he's going to play with this year, but I like Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon, yeah. I was bouncing around that name in my head too, but I think once people have a spotlight on them, that their performance goes down a couple percentage points. But
okay.
I mean, you could say the same thing about Ezekiel Elliott, but he's been in trouble before and had a great season.
Had a great season.
So
exactly.
Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley for me on that one.
All right, now the guys on the outside, receiving yards. Bleacher Report has DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas. 2 very good picks.
Receiving yards?
Yes.
Let's say Julio and Hopkins. Julio Jones and Hopkins for sure. I think those are gonna be the two.
I'm trying to stay away from Julio because, man, something really bugs me about the Falcons this year, and it's more than just Matt Ryan. So I'm staying away from that, but I'll throw Tyreek Hill in there.
Tyreek Hill?
Yeah. Now that
that is a really good pick. Yeah. Yeah, man. I can't argue with Tyreek Hill. I think Michael Thomas is good. I just don't think he's going to be the
Michael Thomas has awesome hands. That's the thing.
He never drops the ball.
No, he has awesome hands, but I don't think he's running the big routes as much anymore, so I don't know that his yards are going to be there this year. But let's move on to receiving touchdowns. I do like Bleacher's 2 picks here. Antonio Brown and Davante Adams.
Antonio Brown and Davante Adams. Davante plays for the Green Bay Packers.
Well, yeah. I mean, Antonio Brown had 15 touchdowns last year, and Davante Adams had 13.
All right. So I got an overall wide receiver here for both categories. Julio for both categories. And I also have Juju as well.
I'm throwing DeAndre Hopkins in there for the touchdowns.
Yep. Yeah, I could see him doing it too. I think Juju is going to get will be up there too. So
now this one was kind of interesting. Yards from scrimmage. They got Saquon Barkley and Melvin Gordon.
I agree with that.
I agree, but I want to throw one more name in there for you.
Oh, wait a second. I know who you're about to say.
No, I don't think you do. I'm going to surprise you here.
Okay.
Carolina Panthers.
Oh, Christian McCaffrey. Oh, I switched my picks now. Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey for sure for me.
Okay.
But those are 2 good picks. I think it'll be one of those 4 for sure.
Okay. Now we get into some defensive players. Tackles for loss. They have Ed Oliver from the Bills and J.J. Watt from the Texans.
Tackles for loss?
Yes. I agree with J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt and Cameron Wake.
I'm thinking Myles Garrett, actually.
Myles Garrett? Okay. I think Cameron Wake is going to have a big year. But yeah, J.J. Watt for sure. How can you not include him?
Sacks. They had Chris Jones from the Chiefs and Bradley Chubb from the Broncos. I'm just going to throw big names out there because I was unsure on this. I'll throw out Aaron Donald, Joey Bosa.
I was going to say Joey Bosa and T.J. Watt.
Okay. And the last one, interceptions. They got Panthers Dante Jackson and the Jags Jalen Ramsey.
Okay. I'll throw 2 Florida State guys in there, actually.
Okay.
They're always in the top cornerbacks. Xavier Rhodes and Jalen Ramsey.
Okay. I'm going strictly from fantasy last year.
Okay.
John Johnson from the Rams and Darren James from the Chargers.
Okay. Derwin James, another Florida State guy.
Yeah. my rating's a little tough here. So.
All good. Yeah, Derwin James had an amazing season as a rookie last year. Glad that he's doing well. He seems like a good kid too. I always get excited seeing Florida State guys do well, but he's not the typical talker like Jalen Ramsey. But Derwin James is a beast.
There we go.
All right.
Now here we go. Dante's in his glory for this next part.
All right. So we're going to switch over to the NCAA side of things. And as you guys know, I wanted to pick 5 quarterbacks that maybe you were thinking about, but just quarterbacks to watch out for that are not the Tua and Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts and all those guys, like all the big names. These are some pretty big names, but there's a specific reason why I picked the way I picked here. First one we're going to start out with is Bryce Perkins out of Virginia. He had a pretty good season, man. He had a completion percentage, and this is the one that kind of stuck out to me. Completion percentage is 64.5, which was up there with the best in the ACC next to Trevor Lawrence.
Absolutely. He had a quarterback rating at 147.5.
Yep. Yeah, the guy's he's a beast, dual threat. And actually, a little stat about him: his brother currently plays for. I think his brother's name is Peter. He currently plays for the Giants as a backup running back, and his uncle played for the Cowboys.
Oh, wow.
Back in the day. So he played 8 years with the Cowboys. But yeah, Bryce Perkins, man, he has all the intangibles. And at his media day for the ACC, he spoke pretty well about the team. And I'm thinking that they're going to be a little bit of a threat that nobody's thinking of just because of him. So look for them to have a high-powered offense. It was his first year with them last year. First year starting. It does say that he's probable as his status, which I'm not sure what that means, but from all the articles that I'm reading, he's going to be active to play the season. So let's look at that from the ACC.
And I went through the ACC. I wanted to see how close I could come to your picks, but I didn't want to pick the obvious either.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to go off the deep end, but I might have on a couple of these.
Okay.
But ACC, you have the same thing. I got Virginia's Bryce Perkins. I agree with you.
Bryce Perkins just looks good on paper.
Yes, he does.
I didn't see a couple of his games last year, but this is a guy that I did see a couple of his games, and this is a guy that I predicted that the Big Ten is going to be theirs this year, and finally it's going to be good for college football. And I know a lot of people hate him, and I know about a bunch of Ohio State fans are going to hate me for saying this, but Shea Patterson from the Michigan Wolverines, man, it's going to be his junior year. His stats last year: 2,600 yards, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Had a completion percentage that was 0.1% better than Bryce Perkins, 64.6. Quarterback rating at 149.8. Dude is a monster, man. He was literally 1 or 2 games away from literally being in the Heisman conversation just by his stats alone.
Well, I agree. I think Michigan's going to have a really good year. I think that's a solid pick. Didn't match up to my pick, but I went Nebraska. I went with Adrian Martinez.
And no, he is not related to Tony Martinez, who was one of my favorite quarterbacks to ever watch in college. But I think it's his freshman year, right?
Yeah. His freshman stats, he threw for over 2,600 yards, had a 64.6 percentage completion, quarterback rating of 139.5, threw for 17 touchdowns versus 8 picks, and rushed for 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's going to be a good little quarterback. I told everybody last podcast that Nebraska is going to be one to circle on your calendar for the Big Ten. They can damn sure be up there and play with the big boys just with his talent alone. But I have Michigan winning that, man. But
yeah.
The next one I want to talk about, and he is going to be a big factor in why this team will possibly win the Big 12, and that's Sam Ehlinger from Texas.
Okay.
If you look at his stats, man, they are ridiculous. 3,200 yards, 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Dude, he's got the size, man. 6'3", 235 pounds to be a quarterback. This was his sophomore season. He had a completion percentage of 64.7. All these quarterbacks that I pretty much talk about are, in the 60s. His quarterback rating was 146.8. He averaged, throwing 7.7 yards every time that he threw out the ball. So the only thing that kind of concerns me about him is he's not going to be a deep ball threat. His longest pass last year was 48 yards, but the year before that he threw a 90-yard bomb. I would like to see that a little higher. Personally, he didn't play as many games as he did last year, but I would love to see that, above the 50s, 55. But I think he has a size, he has the intangibles to just dominate, man. I honestly think he's going to be an NFL ready quarterback as of right now. So if he declares for the draft, circle Sam Ehlinger on your calendars.
Yeah, I like that pick. I'm looking at his stats right now here with you. I think you picked a winner here. I went with the Bama transfer, Jalen Hurts.
Oh, another team where
Oklahoma.
I told people to circle that game on your calendar. It's going to be a gunslinger, no pun intended, down there. Circle that one on your calendar. I like Jalen Hurts. It was pretty hard for me not to pick him, but he's just been a big name. So is Sam Ehlinger, but it's impossible for me not to pick Sam Ehlinger, man.
Yeah. I mean, Jalen Hurts had some good numbers at Alabama, had great great quarterback ratings, 139.1 freshman year, 150.2 second year, dual threat, running and passing, so completion percentages in the low 60s. I think we both picked a couple of quarterbacks to watch in this division.
Jalen Hurts, to me, when he gets drafted, and I know he will, he's going to be like Marcus Mariota. That's who he reminds me of a lot.
Gotcha.
Just consistent. The next quarterback that I have here, and I don't know why nobody was talking about this guy like they were. I think he's going to be the number one pick in the draft. If it's not Trevor Lawrence, this guy's going to win the Pac-12, and he's going to be a freaking monster next year. I'm talking about Justin Herbert from the Oregon Ducks down there in the Pac-12, man. Look at this guy, 6'6", 233 pounds. Ooh. He threw for 3,100 yards. He was 29-8 as his touchdown interception ratio. His longest pass last year was 83 yards. Before that, it was 67. Before that, it was 72. So this guy can throw the deep ball. The only thing that concerns me a little bit, but he's above that 55-yard mark that you want, 59.4 completion percentage. He had 404 attempts for a quarterback. He threw a bunch. I mean, Sam Ehlinger had about 425, but he's going to be in that passing offense that they like down there. And his quarterback rating was a 144.7. But it's just something special about this guy, man, that I think he's going to give this team an edge. He's a big boy. He's going to be able to take the hits, and I think it's going to be a landslide for them this year. I expect them to maybe lose one game.
I don't know about that. We'll take a look at that a little closer as the season comes in. I do like your pick. I'm not sold on the Ducks as a solid team this year, but I think they're going to do well. Mm-hmm. Now, here's where I went off the deep end. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I went with Gage Gubert of Washington State. And it's still not solid that he's got the starting job.
Didn't he transfer out from SoCo College?
Eastern Washington transfer.
JUCO.
He had a 64.6 career completion percentage. Threw for almost 10,000 yards. 130.2 rating. And passed for 87 touchdowns and ran for 13 touchdowns. This is your pocket passer. He'll run in short yard situations, but this guy's all arm.
Wow.
So, if he gets to start, if he gets to run the team, I think he's going to put some numbers up.
So you guys remember me talking about the SEC and how I thought that the Georgia Bulldogs and the LSU Tigers were going to be the SEC championship this year? It's going to come from this guy right here. Even though I said Justin Herbert might be the number one pick, this guy could slide in there, and I like him a lot, man. I might actually put him over Justin Herbert as the number one pick. This is Jake Fromm from Georgia.
Great.
The guy is... he seems like a great guy, all about the team. If you guys watched his SEC Media Day, I encourage you to go watch that if you haven't. Guy talks well, runs an interview. Everything was about the team. It wasn't about individual stats. He's from Georgia, man. Just like Justin Herbert is from Oregon. He's from Eugene, Oregon as well. But Justin Fromm, let's just go through some of his stats, man. On average, he's throwing 9 yards at a time. What's that tell you right there? He's getting first downs a lot. 306 attempts. Well, we know the running game down there in Georgia, they're going to split it half and half, which helps him a lot. 67.3 completion percentage. He only had 2,700 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. But he consistently throws the long ball, man. 75 yards in last year was his longest. The year before that was 80. And his rating was a 171.2. Wow. The guy's a monster, man. He's a complete package of what you want in a quarterback. So if I got to change my pick here, I think that if it was a person to draft, a person to watch out for the Heisman award, other than Trevor Lawrence, of course, this is looking if Trevor Lawrence didn't exist.
Right.
If Trevor Lawrence doesn't declare from the draft, which he's already been saying he wants to play probably all 4 years for the Clemson Tigers, I think Jake Fromm is going to be your number one pick, man. He's going to surprise some people. And I didn't watch too many games on Georgia. I did watch a lot of highlights on him, so I'll be watching him very closely this year. But a lot of people are comparing him to Andrew Luck a little bit too, with just the whole package that he has as a leader, as a player. and his selflessness. So let's see what happens, man. Gets me real excited.
Like I told you prior to this year, ESPN highlights is about my extent of my knowledge with the college football. Watch some of the bigger games. I have seen several games with Jake Fromm. I do like him. The things that he does, the leadership on the field, he is what I would call your team player. It's not about him, even though he puts up good numbers. He just comes off to me as a total team player.
Yep. And as a team player, his stats are going to come regardless. He has it all, man. There's not a lot of bad things I can say, but I think he's going to totally trump over Tua, man. I think Tua has been overhyped.
Yeah.
For a lot of people ever since that national championship game where he came in and took over for Jalen Hurts. And, just the intangibles that Tua has. But I just think, man, Jake's got it all, dude. And it's going to be exciting. My man Cole Rossiter, if you're listening, I know you listen to these very often. Your Georgia Bulldogs, man. Like I said, we got a common enemy in the Florida Gators. I hope you smash on them. I don't think Florida State's going to be able to do it this year. But I think Jake Fromm is going to give them something to give you guys something to root for.
Well, I really like your pick. It definitely outshines the one I had picked for the SEC, but I do think this is somebody to watch. His numbers are not as impressive, but for last year, for Texas A&M, I'm looking at Kellen Mond Jr. with a 57.3% completion ratio, threw for over 3,000 yards, 24-9 his touchdown to interception ratio with a 135 rating. Also rushed for almost 500 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Wow. And we know that Jimbo Fisher's down there, and he's good with quarterbacks, man. That's, it might not be as good as Jake Fromm, but
I think it's somebody to watch.
I think if he ends up declaring for the draft, watch out for his combine tape, too. We know how Jimbo Fisher is. So I think these have all been solid picks, man. I would just say circle Justin and Jake Fromm on this list and watch out for those two, especially Justin, man. I think he's gonna really surprise a lot of people and pick that Oregon team up. We might see the Oregon of the early 2010s here coming back into play with just him at the helm at quarterback. So, man, I was excited putting together this list. I didn't want to pick the obvious, but right. Some of them are obvious picks, but I just look at the overall situation. I look at the build. I look at not necessarily all the stats that they've had, but how consistent they've been throughout the years that they've actually played on their respective teams. Kind of their history, kind of their background. I watched a lot of interviews on these guys. And for me to have picked that, just keep that in the back of your minds why I picked these guys. They all pretty much have the complete package all on their own in their own mindset and their own outright. So maybe we might go to have Don pick his top 5 offensive linemen or something. What's your favorite position, Don? We don't even know.
Man, I don't have a one favorite. I really don't. Back in the day, I loved it when the fullback played.
Mike Allstott?
And I really liked those guys. Right now, I would have to say tight end if I had to pick a
tight ends
spot.
involved. Yeah. Evolved a lot over the years. So it's actually a really exciting position. I think it kind of started with, and we've always had the receiving tight ends throughout history, right? But when I really started paying attention to football, it was the Jeremy Shockeys and the Todd Heap and Tony Gonzalez and all those guys like that were just like, wow, they can really carry a team, right? So yeah, tight end. I was thinking about like picking another top 5 safeties or something like that, because safety is my other baby.
Safety's not bad.
Yeah, but we got to go with the obvious sometimes. I'm not really wrong about quarterbacks, as a knock on wood kind of situation.
Yeah.
The one quarterback that I've been wrong in the last several years was Cam Newton. I thought he was going to be complete trash, and he ended up being pretty good.
Yes, he did.
I hope Jared Goff can prove me wrong. Matt Ryan really hasn't proved me wrong.
No, Matt Ryan hadn't done.
He's just like consistently average.
Yeah. You guys listen to us long enough, you'll know we are not Matt Ryan fans.
Yeah.
But I tell you, if you have been listening to us, I hope you're taking notice, because just about every episode we've mentioned a theme, we've mentioned a player or players, and just about every time we've talked about somebody, something's happened with them, or what we said would happen. It's just been amazing so far.
Yeah. Now that we're down through the divisions, don't really want to go into the college divisions all that much. It's that's a lot to predict for us with how many teams that there are. There's 100 and something teams in college. But if there's one division that you just want us to really go into more in depth, or even more with the NFL, even though you've heard our picks, if you want us to get into more in-depth conversation on why we pick what we pick, we can do that. With the season is right around the corner. College is now practicing, getting all their reps in for the season. We'll have the preseason here in the next month or so. And there's some exciting times. I don't think this NFL season is going to be what we expected. I think it's going to get flipped on its head. I don't remember free agency being this crazy.
This is going to be an interesting year.
I think for both. I think in college, I don't think the obvious teams are going to be the teams that everybody's going to be picking towards the end of the season. So let us know what you think, guys. We'll get all the topics together and talk about them. Right now, it's probably going to be a free-for-all until we start getting some more juicy news out there. But or either we might come in and surprise you with a topic that we haven't really talked about yet.
Never know.
You never know. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. This is a pretty short one today, about 51 minutes.
Yeah.
A little less than an hour.
Well, keep an eye on Facebook. We do encourage you to interact with us. Take a look at our posts. Please comment on our posts. Please comment what you'd like to hear us talk about. Give us some kind of feedback so we can kind of tailor some of these things to you. We don't mind mentioning names. We won't use your full name, of course.
No.
But we'll talk about the things that have been said. We like interacting with the people that listen to us, so please hit us up. Let us know what you think.
And there's a way for everybody, if you want to come on the podcast, or if we want to take a couple of requests to come on and give your opinion on a topic, we don't mind having a free for all rapid fire like that either. We can set it up. Just let us know on Facebook. I'm more on the technology side of things, and we'll see. So and then also, I got to go ahead and get this picture together as well, so we can see everybody can see what we look like. So now that everything's kind of slowing down, work's been kind of crazy busy for me. We'll try to get that picture up on me and Dante and get your opinions on that as well. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. It's never a gimme. You always got to go for two.
Always got to go for two.
All right, guys. Enjoy your Saturday.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Go for Two podcast. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at the Go for Two podcast. Also, if you liked what you heard and don't want to miss an episode, please follow us on iTunes.